Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Foundry virtual event. I am really excited to be here today with the team. My name is Jen Goldfinch. I'm Director of Field Marketing at Foundry. And I think we lost my media. Good. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Apologize, everyone. This has never happened before. There we go.
Hi, Hazel.
It's me. Okay. Strange. I'm Jen Goldfinch, Director of Field Marketing. Hello, nice to see people again if you've been here before. Hi, Hugo. I'm here today with Juan Salazar, who I work with at Foundry, so I should say hi, Juan. And we're really excited to be here with Tomas Wall today from Cinegrace in Sweden. So you've got the UK, Canada, and Sweden on the call today, presenting to you. So I'm going to just say a couple of things, and then Juan's going to talk to you a little bit about what's happening with the Nuke team today, and then we're going to jump into Tomas's presentation, and we're very excited for our live Q&A later on. All right, so virtual events. We've been doing 12 of these virtual events since March 30th, which was about 17 days, 6 hours, and 3 minutes since we shut down here in Montreal. So it became obvious we were getting on an airplane soon. So we decided to turn our physical events into a series of virtual events, and we've done 12, and some of them are amazing. And they're available on demand. If you go to our Foundry events page, you can link to the archives, but there's some great content in there. And we're really psyched about what we have coming up. We've got a great presentation if you're into the Katana and the rendering side of things. We're working with Pixar and RenderMan, and they'll be here next week on Tuesday. We're doing a riveting CG Supervisor Roundtable on the 28th. And then we got two fabulous Nuke sessions with Macrovision and DMEG coming up in June. So make sure to register. They're all open today, and you can register now for them. I did want to take a minute to thank all these amazing studios and freelancers who've been participating with us, all these companies. Nobody said no when we asked them to do a virtual event, to talk about their career or their projects. Everybody's been so happy and proud to be able to jump on these calls. So I want to thank everyone who's been there, and I want to thank everyone who's coming up. Our customers have been fantastic in jumping onto these calls, and they've been super fun for all of us at Foundry. So if you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, please take a look at our Insights Hub. There's a quarterly newsletter that's got all the content that we're working on, stories and videos and events. We also post everything to our social media accounts, so you can find us pretty much the Foundry team or Foundry team on all those channels. So please do follow us. We put a lot of info there, and we like to respond on those channels as well if you have any comments or questions. Great new content, wanted to point out. We just posted a new Nuke article probably about 90 minutes ago on our Insights Hub. So take a look at the page. There's tons of stuff there. There's some great new training by Shahin Tusi, who was on our VFX Supervisor Roundtable last week. So some great new training there. And we just launched a new Workflow Wednesday yesterday on our YouTube channel. So everything is here, and we encourage you to take a look at it. We also are continuing to work very hard with our industry partnerships, and I just wanted to just call out now to ask people to get involved. If you're a student or you're just starting out and you're looking for a mentor, check out Access VFX. They have a really great program where they're matching mentors with mentees. And if you're a senior person in the industry and you want to help out a young up-and-coming artist, please take a look. Access VFX is right now operating in the UK and the US, but being that we're all living in a virtual world, I think they're looking for people outside of those hubs as well. So take a look. We definitely encourage you. Academy Software Foundation, if anyone's a developer out there, the open source community that products like Nuke and Mari and Katana depend on and work with, there's an opportunity to participate in these developments and in the GitHub projects. So definitely take a look at the ASWF as well. It's near and dear to our hearts as well as our customers' hearts. And if anyone is looking for work right now, we're hiring for some VFX skills. We've got some artist skills and engineering skills out there. Most of these are based in the UK, but there is a possibility of remote for a couple of them. So take a look at our careers page, but if you want to join our team, we have some spots open. And then, I feel like I'm stealing Juan's thunder on this one, but if you're interested in helping, well, Christy gave you the slide. If you want to help us make Nuke better and have early access to the latest features that the team is developing, please, we definitely need testers to join our beta discussion group. We test the software, our customers test the software, our partners test the software. So we would love to have you help us and just make Nuke better and better.
Just before you move that slide, just to let you know, we're actually been running, since the Nuke team is fully running remotely, we've been able to put a few alphas out of new features that we're working on. So really looking for new beta testers to give us feedback. So please do go to that link and apply to it. It'll be great to have more people that can test, especially during these times. So yeah.
Well, there you go. So thank you. That's all I have for today. I'm going to leave and get to the main event. But I want to thank you, everybody, and especially our returning viewers. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your energy. Please stay safe. Please stay creative, and please stay connected. We want to hear from you. This makes our week every week, and we're able to sit and chat with you. So encourage your friends to join. Please share. This is really important for us and the community. So I want to thank you.
So thank you, Jen. And so there you are. Let's start this. I'm Juan Salazar, just if you missed it. I'm the Career Product Manager for Nuke, and we are today with Tomas Wall, which I have the pleasure to work with him at the mill, and we have met throughout the world many times and good friends. But we'll be talking today about his company, how he's using Nuke Studio. So without any further ado, let's actually jump into it and let Tomas talk to you about this. So I'm gonna just start the presentation.
And it's the webinar you have all been waiting for. Or was it me? I have been waiting for this webinar because it's about me and my work. And I think you can learn a bit about it, I hope. First of all, thank you very much, the Foundry, Juan, Jen, for giving me this opportunity. Obviously, I'm very, very grateful for this. Second, big shout out to VFX in Stockholm. Check VFX website out. They do amazing work, creature work. It's state of the art, really good stuff. Thank you, Kai Steverman and Thomas Deutschmann, for bringing the project in that I'm actually about to showcase today. Who am I? So, Tomas Wall, as you saw in the description, visual effects supervisor, lead compositor, online editor, visual effects director, post-producer. You can probably call me some kind of multi-talent. I've actually done quite a lot of different things during these past 15 years I've been working in this industry. Some of you might actually know me for throwing a really big leaving party at the mill in New York 5 years ago, but that's just some of you. I also always wear a suit when I work, and if I don't wear a suit, at least I wear a shirt. And now you're thinking, Thomas, what are you doing in a remote location like that? It must be the Baltic Sea behind you. Yes, it is. It's the Baltic Sea. I have quarantined myself and my family out here by the summer house. This is actually where I run my company from right now. What I'm about to show you today actually works with the client present in your online suite, but it also works on remote location, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Quickly, I'm going to talk about how you can use Nuke Studio only for online editing and grading in a really, really quick, fast environment, and it works really good for small companies where you want to keep your costs down and be really, really efficient when working. Over to myself inside. Some tea. Okay, inside by the computer. Let's have a look at the commercial we're going to showcase today.
Mẹ ơi, cho con phòng học này nhé.
Khi ý chí cần tiếp thêm sức mạnh, gấu mạnh mẽ luôn đồng hành cùng bé. Sữa Nestle cho xương chắc khỏe, cho cơ thể mạnh mẽ luôn đồng hành cùng ý chí của bé.
Nam ơi.
Sữa Nestle cho một thế hệ mạnh mẽ.
Some of you watching this have extensive experience with long format work, such as feature films and TV series, and to you, what I'm about to say and show might be a bit upsetting. You never know. First, I want to talk about online editing really quickly. What is it? Online editing is the very final stage before delivery. In a commercials environment, it's done with the client present behind your back, making comments, asking for adjustments, reverting back to previous versions, going back to the latest version again, splitting the difference between what they just saw to what you show them this morning. No matter in what media you're working, it's obviously important to name your versions and, you know, keep it tidy and make it easy for people to understand what you've done in your script. It's important to constantly have a dialogue, not just talk. Have a dialogue with the client, explaining what is possible, what is not possible without saying impossible. I mean, you give ideas, opinions, solutions, but always bear in mind that the client you're dealing with is paying for what you do, and make decisions and opinions based on what will sell their product, not necessarily what is a good picture. And quite often they actually care more about the pack shot at the very end and what the full commercial as a whole looks like to the consumer, rather than looking at if this is photoreal, perfect comping CG. That's actually secondary for a lot of clients. And my honest opinion is that online editing is not for everyone. It's a very specific mindset that you need, and it's mainly for people who likes the rush of working under severe pressure, giving service as well as making the client, who knows nothing about visual effects, comfort and trust in you and your work in the quickest possible way. And at the same time, you obviously need to try to deliver stunning results. And now you're wondering, Thomas, couldn't you show us a little bit what it looks like in a client session? And if we talk about remote work, it's the same thing. The client is present because we're making all the final decisions before delivery, here and now. The only difference is that you have your session through Skype, Meets, Zoom, Twitch, Slack. I've tried them all, and you know, it's still a work in progress in that phase. And we're also going to talk about grading here. And grading is quite similar actually, because you're doing final grade together with the client. You need to come up with a look and feel with the decision makers behind your back, or remote online at the same time. Sometimes you have just a few hours to finish a complex 60-second spot when you would wish you had 3 days to get the result you want. And I'm not a Bible. Every project is different, but this is my kind of combined experience in working as a lead composer in an online session for quite many years. My decision to use Nuke Studio for my company is first of all because I have used Nuke since Nuke 5. I know it inside out. I have experience using other softwares as well, and feel that the best option for me and my company is Nuke Studio. And why is that? Well, mainly because you can do it all at once. You can update the edit, you can do more complex compositing in your node tree, you can do match grading between shots, really simple, you can do the time warps, paint work, everything all at the same time. And that suits me. Okay, so let's start with the conform. Once you have your conform on your timeline, everything is synced up, I always do the same thing. I always export all the shots to the server. It doesn't matter if it's just me working on this spot or if I'm managing a team. The procedure is always the same. This allows me to have multiple Nuke scripts running at the same time in the background, as well as the timeline in Studio. And why do I like that? Because I can jump between the timeline and the shots we're working on very quickly and show results within seconds. In this showcase, after the tech read, which I will not cover today, I prepped all the plates for Fable FX, who is doing the CG bear, and also the composting of the actual bear. Paintwork, removing objects, cleanup that would appear behind the bear was my first priority. And I must mention that Fable had been on this job for way longer before I came in, where they were working on ungraded offline plates. And this is where remote sharing comes in. And just quickly working on the remote aspect, I'm using a service called Axin to move and transfer files between artists, which is really good. I'm not going to go too deep into this because this is about Nuke Studio, but this is definitely worth checking out. Fable made sure they had a version for each and every shot containing CG before I came in. So on the first day of online and grading, myself and the clients went through all the notes, what needs to be done. And this was both online and grading at the same time. We just merged the two, combining it as one session. And now I'm going to be very transparent here. We knew that the final commercial would be shown in commercials blocks in Vietnam, both North and South Vietnam, and on YouTube. To get the quickest possible workflow, we had to make a decision on what color space, file format to use. We were all working remote, Fable in their office and myself in my office, together with the clients. Speed in upload and download was essential for the project. And this is just my reflection. I guess the standard today is more like 16-bit half-float EXRs. But to speed things up, we looked at the project and we wanted speed as well as a good outcome, obviously. But we also looked at the final media, the YouTube and the commercials blocks in Vietnam, and came to the conclusion that we would work on 10-bit DPX files for the live action plates. Old school, I know. But here's the thing, I'm only speaking for myself here. As long as you're aware of the consequences a decision like this will cause in the long run, it's fine. What you need to make sure is that you don't come back later and say, I can't get coverage in the overexposed white areas just because you decided to go for 10-bit instead of 16-bit. It's okay to cheat and save time if you make sure it won't affect the final product. And I also have to be clear that the compositing workflow in regards of the CG bear was of course done with EXRs containing all necessary AOVs. By the book, by Fable. We're only talking about grading of the backplates right now. Let's go deeper into the grade phase. The client's main concern was that the bear looked too yellow and that the people looked pale and tired. And this is really where Nuke Studio comes in handy. By opening up a Nuke script in the background, piping all the tech-graded plates to a contact sheet, we got a massive overview what shot worked best and which ones needed more tweaking. And I did all the tweaking straight under each read node in my Nuke X comp. That way the client could actually see in real time what was happening with the grade and at the same time compare it to the rest of the shots. You pick one hero and then you match everything else towards that. And after that I just took that bunch of nodes and copied into the correct script. And as one shot was rendering, I was already working on the other one, because I always had multiple scripts open at the same time. I can't express how much I think this is all about service. All of a sudden they wanted to see updates on the cleanup of the boy's face. And this is where the workflow is so powerful. Because since I was already doing the grade in the same script as the cleanup, so I could within a few minutes show them both the smoothed face of the boy together with the latest grade. Okay, was this project a smooth ride? Well, every project has its own challenges. Obviously, one of the biggest challenges was to please the client who wanted the polar bear to look super white, like milk. And quite frankly, because this commercial's only purpose is to get people to drink milk, their milk, the client has that mindset, which totally makes sense if you look at it from that perspective. But we still had to make sure that the bear was sitting in each scene. So even though all plates were graded and matched towards each other, the lighting would differ between different scenes. And that's just the way it is in real life. One example, to make the bear look the same in the yellow wallpapered stairway as in the blue painted room, and at the same time have the same super white color, was something that we talked and worked on for hours. And to repeat, it's my job to please the client, to get them what they want, but at the same time you need to have pride. It's not like you do everything they tell you. You need to argue back and forth and give your opinion together with them, respecting their opinion, and that way you work your way forward. One quick example I want to show now is that they actually wanted to push the skin colors, and here's an example where we tried pushing the skin colors all the way to super pink, whilst obviously from a photoreal perspective you would want them more natural. Conversations like this bounce back and forth all the time. And in the middle of all this, a question to extend one shot came in. They wanted to see Fable's mighty bear for longer in one shot, this shot. Short break, need some tea. So quickly, O-flow was used to slow down the end of that shot and show them the new timing. And after that, some paint work to remove some jitter that can be caused when you slow a shot down using motion. And now I know what you're thinking. Why do you do it that way? That's not the proper way, Thomas. No, you're right. The proper way would be to go back to CG, reanimate, render, give it a comp, composite it properly back together again. But we only had half an hour. So with this solution, we solved it and signed it off with the client within 20 minutes. So I've been talking a lot about stress and pressure and all that today, and I hope I've covered what you understand with the remote part as well. When we started Cinegrace, we realized that there are so many talented remote artists and companies around the world that we could collaborate with. So we don't want a huge staff around us. We want to be flexible, take small gigs, and expand to be able to do bigger jobs as well. So I hope this short, condensed explanation about Nuke Studio, working in online editing and in grade, has helped some of you, and I hope it's been slightly entertaining at least. And since I'm such a great mind reader, I know that you all want to say, what did it look like when everything was approved? This is what it looked like. If you like what you've seen so far, thumbs up. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thomas, obviously that's amazing. And welcome obviously to the session. There is a lot of questions already around. I think let's start with your role as an online editor. What do you think makes that difference? You are very clear about how online editors or doing that role is a bit different than normal. In this case as well, since you're doing remote sessions as well.
Yeah. Well, obviously, for bigger companies, you always have like at least one online suite where you present with the clients. And I'm actually going to start by saying the reason why it is such a stressful, condensed environment is that's not going on all the time, obviously. This is during the kind of final approval. And bear in mind that sometimes you have advertising agency director and marketing director from the actual client in there. I mean, the marketing director could be worth, $500 to $1,000 an hour for the company. Might have flown in from a different part of the world. It is so important for the clients to have that approval there and then. And that's why you end up in this situation that I kind of condensed. What you actually saw was actually 3 days of work. So it was like scattered out and we did everything in stages. And I don't know if this presentation was a bit jumpy, but I wanted to kind of show how it jumps like that. And that's why I chose this this workflow, because it was easy for me just to handle everything condensed in one software, which was Nuke Studio. But the online editing, I mean, I have only worked with online editors with a visual effects background. Everyone knows how to comp. That's where you start, and then you move on, and then you're responsible for the project, and you're the client-facing force, basically. So you're speaking for your entire team, and you need to give them credits, and you have this conversation going, and you need to know, is this possible to do? If it's not, you can't say impossible, because no client wants to hear impossible, because that means you're not going to get the next job from them. So it's always like you need to work around. And I have never ever actually seen some kind of tutorial or presentation about this, even though it happens every day. I mean, take where you and I used to work, the mill. I don't know how many, probably 20 just in London. I don't know how many suites, at least 10 to 20 suites. I don't know how many there are today.
I think 18 at one point.
Yeah.
I think that's in the old building.
This is very, very common. It's just that no one seems to talk about it. So that is the role, to be the kind of spokesman.
Yeah. And then, which is obviously, I think a lot of people confuse it sometimes with the VFX supervisor or the supervisor of the role of the job. What in that role, what do you think you need to be able to do it? What if you're coming from the ranks? What is that thing that you think make a good online editor?
You need, like I said also in the presentation, you need to be able to work under stress, severe stress, super stress. You need to be able to not to show that you're stressed, and you need to kind of take it with just take it as it comes, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, if you fail, it's not like someone is going to die. The marketing director might have to rebook his flight. That's actually what's going to happen. There might be a delay fee because the TV stations say, hey, we didn't receive the master on time, but that's it. No one's going to die from this. So I think you need to kind of combine the stress and see the importance of this. And as well, not just, you need to kind of realize that it is important to the client, but not, you can't break yourself. So it's a balance. I don't know, because I've worked with so many different lead compositors or online editors. So and they all have characters. That's probably the first one. They all have their own character, and but they do it differently. Some barely smiles, but they do a great job, and the client likes them. And some are different.
Funnier and
exactly. Cool. And thanks, Hugo. I can see your comments here. I've seen that you've written a lot, and I love you, Hugo. You're my best friend right now.
So actually taking that into, there is a lot of questions in the chat. So let's start with one related to the actual role, to the actual job that we just saw you guys worked on. I'm gonna just press this. So Thomas, suggestions for a small VFX boutique pipeline requirements, like naming conventions. Also curious about this commercial is graded inside Nuke Studio.
Yes. So that's multiple questions. Let's start from the top. Pipeline requirements. The setup that I have, one hell of a kick-ass Macintosh. We're talking get as powerful as you can afford, get as many of those as you can. But I mean, I'm actually running the latest iMac Pro, and I have dual RAID discs, and I mean everything needs to be really, really quick. I have the Blackmagic 4K breakout box and a calibrated 65-inch monitor, and so that's what you need. That's the actual setup for the client.
That's your setup for the client sessions.
Yeah, exactly. Because you need 10-bit signal out to the monitor. You know, you can't just mirror your monitor. That's, I mean, I did that before the monitor arrived, and you know, it doesn't work because we actually got work before we actually had more or less an office. So we were like, the first in the beginning, we were kind of okay. Now we need to do this, and we were like, we had half the equipment we had ordered. Because it was like, you know, you customize a Mac, it arrives 5 weeks later. So yeah, we didn't really take that into calculation. When it comes to naming conventions, I always just do, you know, shot. I mean, if you have your shots on the timeline, you have multiple layers. I just do VL, video layer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and shot number is always 10 by 10 in increment. So shot 1 is shot 10, 20, 30. And, you know, because that way, if they re-edit, which happens, you can just call the shot in between 1 and 2, 15. I mean, it just makes it easier. So that's then I don't know if that answers the questions.
I think that makes sense. Also, just in Nuke Studio, you have the ability to rename the shots very easily, and as well the export structures, which allows you to use tokens to create those naming conventions automatically.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps in those cases as well.
Yeah, and like I said, I always, even though, you know, I didn't go through it here where you work straight on the timeline and, you know, you create a composite on the timeline and you go straight into it, never leaving Studio. And I do that on very simple jobs. And I was actually supposed, early on, I had an idea about showcasing a different project where I actually did that. But I just felt that with this project, it was slightly more complex and it was very, I don't know, it was so stressed and pressed. So I thought this is actually a better case just to show people that we all know how everything is supposed to work. But sometimes you just don't have the time, but you need to deliver. And this is my way of showing. I mean, you saw my Nuke scripts. Some of them look like fucking apeshit, to be honest. It's like, and that is just because they're sitting behind me waiting as I'm doing this. So
and it makes sense. So last bit, I don't know if you answered this. Curious about, was it graded inside Nuke Studio?
Yes, there was a tech grade before that, which basically just was to give Fable a hint of where it was going, so they could work on those plates. But everything was approved and graded in Nuke Studio. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So moving on into a little bit of remote workflow. That is straight question that came in. So let's answer this. So can you talk a little bit more about your online remote client sessions that you're hosting? Are you using Zoom, etc., and that works their playback? You mentioned a sync software, so you can talk about that. And transferring the plates to the remote artists.
Yeah. First one, remote. Like I actually said in the video, it's still sort of a work in progress. What I would like is the breakout box to feed out on Twitch, like something like that, basically straight out from Nuke. I've had too much to do, so I haven't actually explored that enough. So yes, I am using Zoom, Skype, etc. So what you need to do beforehand, same thing. It's a client. You explain and explain and explain what they can expect, and you tell them, I am looking at a calibrated monitor. So as long as you have a good trust with the client, that has worked so far. And then when they have watched everything and they believe that they're happy over, Skype, Zoom, Twitch, Slack, Discord, wherever in what media we are, you send them a high-res QuickTime for them to look at on their monitor. And I know that now someone is going to say, well, it looks different on their monitor. Yes, it does. That's my answer. We're talking remote there. I mean, the option there would be to actually ship a calibrated monitor over to someone, and that's one way of doing it, but that's a completely different, cost. So, yeah.
No, it's like that's a different side to it. Cool. So, sorry, I'm just now checking another question because I was just browsing. This one is interesting because you and I, for example, we come from different countries. We then met in London. You went to New York, back, everything. So Karen Guerrero is asking, so it's a little bit, going back a little bit, but coming. So she's from Miami, not from a central hub, and how is it to move in the field and kind of gain experience?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Not that I would say that Stockholm is like a major hub, but there is definitely quite a lot of work, at least before Corona. I don't know what it's like right now, but so best advice for, I mean, to be honest, look for remote work at the moment. And if the world goes back to normal, move to where the work is. That's what I did. It's like...
Yeah, but I think that there is a few interesting things that are happening in the industry at the moment, and I think that the remote workflow is one of the main things that is kind of balancing out that you can now work from a little bit more everywhere in the world. Yeah. I used to live in Miami. Karen, you can find work in Miami. There's a lot of nice post houses. You also have Atlanta around the corner, which is one of the hubs of TV production in the States, very close. So I think there is the two sides. There is the remote workflow that is happening, and then starting that will take you somewhere else. And I think if you look at the careers of Hugo, myself, Thomas, we all have come from different countries and started there, moved somewhere, and then progress. And that's kind of what gets you the chance to move into the different.
Yeah, and all, just before we finish this question, is that all major studios, small studios, everyone is adopting to remote workflow now.
Yeah.
It's never going to go back to the way it was, I guess. For certain things, yes. I do think for my online sessions, I do know that the clients really likes a flight to Stockholm, sit and drink champagne and have, beer and food behind my back telling me what to do. That's like a part of the experience. Yeah. But you might see less of it. But it's like, and it's so quick to approve everything there and then. That's just... So for that side, onlining will probably not be as remote as compositing. But compositing, I'm quite sure that quite a lot of people will never have to move anywhere and can just sit at home in a proper office.
Yep. Cool. So I'm gonna go back to the project that you've been doing. So how long did it take you to do the compositing for this ad until final approval of the client?
Okay, so if we start from when Fable started, might be wrong. I hope that they don't hate me if I say this wrong, but I think it was 4 weeks. Something like that. 3 or it could be 3 weeks. I can't remember. The shoot, I need to count backwards, but the shoot was mid-Jan. Everything started first week of Feb, everything was running, and last week of February, that's when I started to receive shots. Yeah.
So on the online process and the finishing, how much time did you spend then?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually, with some extra hours. I mean, it's not 3 regular work days. It's probably
it's about a week of.
Yeah, it's a week. It's a week. Definitely.
It's a week of work.
Yeah. I see one question here.
Yeah, sure.
And I just pushed this one. I haven't done this before.
Please.
Where did it go? There was someone asking about the specs, which is quite...
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I think it was about what is the spec of your machine.
Yes.
I don't know where it went. It was there.
No, me neither, but I can...
What are the specs of your system?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm gonna bring it up here. Do you know some? So the biggest issue with running the iMac is obviously the graphics card, but it so far so good. Let's see here. So what we're looking at is I have an iMac Pro. It's the 2.5 gigahertz 14 core Intel Xenon W. I have 128 gigs of RAM, and I have the Radeon Pro Vega 64X 16 gigabyte graphics card. That was an easy question.
Yeah, and you have that attached to a RAID system, right? You mentioned.
Sorry, I have it.
You have a RAID system.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah. So I have a dual RAID system, which works as kind of the suite's server in a way, and that's where you put licenses and such, and then you kind of VPN in to get license. If I like right now, it's a floating license, so I have it on my laptop here today, for example, and yeah, so that's the setup.
Cool. Cool. So there is another question about the business side and how you manage other parts of the pipeline. So how are small boutiques or independent artists dealing with shot tracking, shotgun, F-track, frame.io, whatever it is? What do you keep yourself organized to keep a professional record?
Good. Also, these are all good. On this one, we didn't use any of these. I didn't. It was a bit of a workaround, but I would say I prefer F-track and frame.io. But any of these are good, so I wouldn't say that one or the other would be wrong. The good thing about frame.io is that it's very, very simple to learn. So if you're starting up, I would probably go for that one. And if you want to kind of scale up, it's not always you need what F-track and Shotgun has. So.
Yeah, no, and I think to that point, for example, one of the main examples we have in Nuke Studio for you to try and test is a connection with Shotgun and F-track that is provided. But we also have an example with a simple spreadsheet. So for smaller studios, you can actually just track with a spreadsheet if you know the fields, and you can actually build automatic timelines from those spreadsheets in Nuke Studio if you wanted to. So tracking your shots is all about kind of that easy of maintaining the data and not doing it for the sake of doing it. That's kind of an important part of that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good. Should we take something about remote? That's always fun. Do we see any remote questions here?
Yeah.
Hugo, don't you have a question for me? Are you still around?
So there is one here.
Yeah.
But this is about freelancer. But what will be your advice for freelancing to try to get in remote working or small or medium studios?
Yeah, tough one. I get a lot of emails. Every week where people want to team up and work. I would definitely, if you don't get an answer, I would continue at least until someone gets back. Sometimes I won't answer an email for a week because I have too much to do. But eventually, I will. So that's one thing. But I think you kind of need to be a bit creative and build relationships. In every single city I've lived in, which is 3 cities, there is always a gathering of, like in Stockholm we have Comp Beer, which is always organized by David Wahlberg at ILP, for example, and Andreas Karlsson, who's a worldwide freelancer. And attend those. That's how you make friends, connections. And start looking for freelance work. I must admit that I was always more or less staff until I started Cinegrace. So sure, I've been permalancing. I did that at the mill for 4 years. But that was still, you wrote a contract of 6 months to a year, so it felt like you were actually staff. So I never did the kind of bouncing around smaller, bigger projects and such. So same thing when I worked at Cinesite. It was like I think my first contract was 3 months, and then from there I signed a contract of 1.5 years. So meet with people, get to know people, get to know people what you can do. That's it. It's the social skills.
Yeah.
And even though I know to get remote work, that's another thing. I'm actually not answering the question here. Try and find remote beer. I don't know. It's actually a really tough question. I need to think about that one for a while.
Yeah. I think there is in remote. Well, it's not much different to get the role as long as you have your show reel. You contact the people. It's normally more in that case for remote workflows. What I have seen lately a lot is making sure that the artists have a good machine to work on, or they will be able to access a remote machine from the company that is going to offer you that job. So there is kind of the two sides to that. Either it's going to be on your machine, or it's going to be on the company's machine that you're going to be remoting to.
Yeah.
So there is the two workflows, depending on which company, depending on the style, you will have to do a few bits and pieces differently. But other than that, I think is normal applying to jobs.
Yeah. How? No, that's a live answer. I'm gonna pick this one.
Sure.
It's actually quite important. This is a really good question. May I know how to get online projects? Start by compositing and composite for many years. Once you are comfortable enough and you can manage any kind of task, and apply stress to that and work on your social skills, that's when you can get online projects. So especially I like on this level, you can probably get simple stuff if you're at a very small studio. I know there are some freelancers only doing online work, and sometimes they're in 1 day on a project and then they're out. So that's also an option, but you need to know the backstory. You need to know where everything comes from, because you will be cheating, and you need to know what the consequences are when you cheat.
Cool. All right. So the next one I'm going to ask, I think this one is interesting for multiple reasons, but it's what do you think about ACE's workflow for small VFX boutiques, especially for commercials? It says after, because most of the time grading is done in Resolve. I think it doesn't matter if the grading is done in Resolve or in Baselite or in Nuke Studio or anywhere. It's more about the ACE's workflow for small boutiques.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more for, to be completely transparent, I have used so many softwares during the years, and I would actually answer this, whatever suits you, that is the option you're going to go for. There is, like, for example, there's also almost like a war going on between Flame and Nuke. Let's put it out there. And it's because Nuke is used for more handling CG comps to an extent that Flame is not. And Flame is the standard today for online editing and pulling shots together and leading a team. I have used both. They both work. They both have pros and cons. So whatever you're comfortable doing, use it. I won't actually interfere with what is the best workflow or what I think about it. I think that's up to each and every one to answer for themselves. Try it out, see what you like the best.
I agree. Also, I come from all the different softwares, so and that's why I've been able to actually move and do all the different things. But related just to the ACES part, I would like to say I think it depends, as Thomas did on this job by deciding to go with DPXs in the pipeline. It is more about what is the best option for you. Working on ACES is amazing when you're working with a lot of dynamic range. But if you're not doing anything with a lot of dynamic range, you can just work in Rec 709, like this job was done. So there is no need to, if you understand why you're picking one of those, that's the important bit. And you know exactly. That if you are going to Rec 709, you are going to be in a limited range, while if you go with ACES and you actually work through the whole pipeline ACES, you already are on the higher dynamic range. So it's a decision of what is the deliverables and understanding your project.
Exactly. That's a way better answer than I came up with. So yeah, thanks. That's perfect. Yeah.
You did it on the video, so cool. So next one. We still have a bit of time to talk about keep talking. So where was I? Sorry, I literally just lost my trail of thought. This is an interesting one. So while opening the small studio, what things need to take care of, and what are the most important things to do first?
Yeah.
Getting a client.
Number one, believe in your idea. Believe for sure that you're going to attract work, because otherwise you will be so stressed. Second, get an accountant. You do not want to deal with the financials. As you're working, there is no time. I mean, 24 hours per day is not enough if you're going to, do the invoicing, especially the booking, keeping track on all the receipts. Find someone for that. Find a solution for what your client's needs are. We are in a space, we are renting a space inside of a sound design house called Red Pipe Sound Design. They are the biggest facility in Sweden for feature films, commercials, sound design work. And they do state-of-the-art stuff. It's really brilliant. So by teaming up with them, we are now offering the best possible online and VFX we can. So I would say if you find a partner, I mean, we are separate companies. You can come in and work only with me or only with them. But obviously, if you come in together, we give a discount, both of you, and you get one quote and one invoice. So that's like scan the market. So that's like, those are probably the top tips. But the first one, just make sure, it's not like I didn't know what my first job would be. I just had been waiting for a few years, realizing that I can attract work. I do know that I can actually attract work now. I just had that feeling. I spoke to people. They were already picking my brain on stuff. So it's like, yeah, just that's probably my answer for this.
Cool.
Yeah.
So going back, we were talking about remote working. So I think this one is interesting. You have talked about on-prem infrastructure. Have you considered cloud computing and its availability to expand? We're spending a lot of capex and expensive machines and bringing on to more artists, all linked to that online infrastructure.
I've thought about it, but I mean, we can actually wave in Axin, the remote software I'm using.
Yeah,
it's very. I think everyone should just go and check it out because it's brilliant. Instead of using like cloud computing and having everything in the cloud, and which is really good, I have everything on my local server, and I get licenses for everyone involved on the project. They open up Axon. It works in the web browser or as a standalone software, and you could give permissions directly to the server for your artists. You can decide if they can only read, only write, what folders to access, or if they just want full access to everything. And that's what you can do with your employees, for example. I have that for myself so that I can access everything on my computer here. And the good thing is that you can mirror the path. So you have a remote artist working somewhere else. By mirroring, they are getting the exact same folder structure as you are. And all you need to do when it's piped back is just to change the beginning of the script, basically the path. So have I ever considered cloud computing? Of course, when it suits the project. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cool. Just to add to that, the only thing I'd like to say is working in the cloud is amazing, and there is a lot of infrastructure now that allows you to do that. There is great companies that are working with full everything on the cloud, which is great. Obviously, for example, if you talk to Hugo as well, that's another one of the guys that do a lot of this. And we have talked about it quite a bit. But there is one part of it that I think is an issue still with full cloud-based systems. And one of those is online work, because you cannot see the full quality image on 10-bit through Teradici and everything else. So that part is still an issue when you have a full cloud infrastructure and how you actually have that. Obviously, Teradici works, but there is other bits and pieces that at an issue there. So it's something to consider when you're thinking between on-prem and having cloud systems for your finishing.
Yeah.
Cool.
I saw one here. This is an interesting one. May I?
Sure. Yeah, please.
When pricing jobs, do you do a shot-by-shot bid or a rate or a project fee? How do you calculate? I know how much money I need to bring in each month to pay for the space, my machine, myself, everything, licenses to you, Juan, stuff like that. So it's up for debate every time. I never do shot bidding for online work. It's not worth it. You need to do that if you're doing VFX work. That's one thing. But for the online part only, that's a day rate or an hourly rate. So that's the simple, because and sometimes it's just, you know, the client wants you're always obviously bidding and stuff like that, and quite often you just agree to a package deal where I know this is going to cover the cost and I'm not going to kill myself too much.
Cool. So yeah, there is many ways to do the bidding and so on. Oops, did I minimize? Oh, that was yours.
That was my answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. What's next? So I'm going to answer this one quite quickly here, just for a sec. How are you dealing with popular formats like DNG or MXF in Nuke Studio? You probably didn't do it on this job. I can answer that quite quickly. DNG is, yes, we don't support it fully, even though there's a DNG reader that is available as a plugin for Nuke. We are working on that one. We hope we'll have that. It's in the list. The MXF is already supported, so you should be able to work with MXF. No troll on that. So just quite quickly, I imagine in this one you didn't cut to do either of the two, right? You were working DPXs and XRs all throughout. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah. So that was not an issue on this one. This one is good.
Yep.
How do you say no to client? This is something you need to feel the client. Even though you don't know them, you need to feel what kind of answer they're after and make them understand what they're asking might not be easy, and give them a solution or more like an alternative kind of solution to what they want to do. I did bring it up in the presentation where they wanted to speed ramp the bear. And, you know, I don't want to overflow. The render was brilliant. It's not my, you know, it's not like I want to do it, but I do know that I can, if I just extend it, we're talking 10 frames on the entire shot, which I think was something like 50 frames or something. So it's a small portion. And I do know I'm going to get jitter from it. So I need to paint out that jitter from using motion vectors. But that is, it's basically to show them this is how we can do it. I know what you're asking for. That's going to take a long time. So you're not saying that's impossible, but you can say we can do that, but that's going to be ready a week from now, or we can do it this way, and that's going to be done in 20 minutes. So feel the client. It's the social skills.
I think it's social skills, and I always say that the way it's being proactive is when you actually solve it. You give a solution to the problem instead of just saying no. That's the bit that always.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, never say no. I mean, you don't want to sit in a stressful environment with people hating you as well. That's the worst. Sometimes you don't work. The chemistry between you and the client is not perfect, and you don't want them to hate you in those situations. But as well, build relationships and work with the clients that you like. Some just let you do whatever you want because they trust you. So that's the best client.
Yeah. I just find the actual question about the computer specs. Let's move on. You answered this one already, but just to kind of reiterate it, how do you deal with software pricing and overall cost? Do you include a fee or percentage per project?
Yeah, no, I do not include. I do not include a fee for Nuke, for example. That's on me. I decided to use Nuke. That's not going to affect the client. I mean, I could have worked in Resolve if I wanted that, like using Fusion, which would lower the cost, but I don't want to do that. So actually, that's on me. It's my decision. I could use After Effects if I want to use layer-based. I could use Flame. It's like that's never going to affect the client, in my opinion. I understand if you work like in probably bigger teams and such, you need to cover the costs. But my opinion there would probably be to kind of hide it in the hourly fee in that case. So that's how I deal with pricing. And the thing is, I've been in arguments with clients where they don't understand why they have to pay for master files, because it's just a quick time to them.
Yeah.
Why do we need to pay for that? Why? You've already done the work. So what I'm doing, I'm including all of this in my day rate.
Yeah.
No questions asked. This is what I cost. This is the break even. Very simple. You give me 15 versions, that's just going to be a few extra hours of work. It's not like it just makes everything easier. I've noticed. And this is actually experience coming from inside an advertising agency, because I haven't told anyone here. I spent 2 years at DDB in Stockholm, working for an agency as well, just to see what it was like to work from the inside, from where the client came from.
Yeah. What next? Where should we move next, Thomas?
This is actually related to the same question, which I didn't answer. It was actually Lee Watson who asked it, and I actually skipped. He had 2 questions, which was, how do you calculate how long a job will take?
Yeah.
I know how long it's going to take. That's how I calculate. It's based on experience. I know how long it's going to take. Yeah.
I don't know if you do that. I know quite a few soups, or I did it as well at a time when I started to track as well my own work a little bit more, not only by my own experience, but I actually had a spreadsheet and some information. When I did certain jobs, I kind of went, ooh, okay, this type of green screen, I normally do it in this style, or I know this type of shots with this amount of CG characters is more or less this time. So I started having kind of a tracking site from my own personal side to kind of have that. And that helped me quite a bit to start figuring out how long something, to stop just making it your own brain thinking and just kind of have some data and say, no, it actually took me, I don't know, a week to solve this shot, or it took me, in commercials, I wish I had a week for doing a shot, but you know what I mean? It started kind of giving me that space to understand that I have the data for it and not just thinking about it.
No, of course. I mean, if you say you have a 60-second Super Bowl ad based on visual effects, of course I'm not just gonna, I know this is gonna be 2 weeks. Of course I'm gonna look at the board and see, okay, this shot we're gonna do like this, that's gonna be 3 days. This, like, of course that's how you do it, like you do it shot by shot, but it's all based on based on experience. You know how long that's going to take, and then you need to calculate if it's like this job that I just showcased today. That would, since I was only taking part of the online finishing, delivery, and grade, that was just, I just saw it, and we had 3 days, and I needed 4 days, so we made 3 days, 4 days. We made 4 days, 3 days. That's how we did it.
Cool. So I'm gonna answer. There is one. I think it is fine. Let me just try and find. Sorry, I was trying to find a question.
I'm trying to see if there's anyone I know here. There were a lot of comments in the beginning in the chat, but questions seem to be.
There is quite there is a lot of questions. So in the question part. So this is, well, I think this is very interesting, just because of the fact. But have been editing films and TV series for the past 10 years in Final Cut Pro. My ability to shift from Final Cut to Nuke are completely different roles. I think so. Final Cut, you are editing, you are doing creative editorial, everything else. When you go into Nuke, you're going into the post side properly, and obviously your experience as an editor will help guide, especially if you ended up in online editing and finishing. That will definitely be a good path. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that.
I've never worked with an editor moving into online editing ever. Now probably I'm going to get like 15 emails by tomorrow saying, well, I would used to be an editor, now I'm like a flame artist or whatever. But it's like, it's not as common because, I mean, in editing, offline editing, you are creating the story. That's storytelling. You're creating the vision of the director, agency, or, you know, whoever kind of pays for the job, and you try to tell a story. The story is already being told when you're in online editing. That's just finishing everything off, making sure that the TV stations get what they want, that YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, you know, everything, they just need their versions. They want to sell milk.
Cool. So the next thing I'm going to ask is, what is the biggest project you have been handling with Nuke Studio? Have you ever had performance problems or any other problems with larger projects? I mean, projects with multiple episodes or hundreds of shots. I don't know if you have worked on.
Yeah, I mean that's good. Let me think. Usually, I mean, this is usually what I showed today. That's the kind of length usually. I mean, sure, 45, 1 minute, but that's sort of the length I'm usually working in, and Nuke Studio has been fine for that. I mean, we can talk about Nuke Studio when it came. That was tricky.
Yeah, when it came out, it was tricky. I completely agree.
I had Hugo behind my back saying, "This is how we're going to work now. We're going to help these guys develop this." And we just worked on it for years and years, and now I really like it. So, yeah, I haven't had any problems yet, but I am bidding on a TV series for next year. So we'll see. I need to be honest with you as well. We'll see.
No, you tell me. I can answer that one a little bit. I have had the pleasure of obviously through Foundry and with the different clients. There's a few TV series that have been done completely in Nuke Studio, the same as films. So it works on the size. It's more about the setups, really. There is some studios that, as long as the setup is good, they have never had any issues. There's people that, based on setup, then suddenly have issues in different bits. On that note, if you're having issues on performance, please let us know. Especially right now, since you are probably not doing finishing jobs or doing crunch times. Use it to report bugs to us. Everyone thinks that we know about all the bugs. We don't. We don't know what we don't know. So please tell us. Contact the support team. Tell us about it. If you have issues with performance, please do, or any areas, just please contact us and let us know more about it.
Oh, look, I have one that I know this guy.
Good.
Hey, Christopher. So, is it normal with hours, like overtime during online? No. Yes, it is normal. So just make sure when you're planning online editing, the online phase, or even if you're taking care of grading, if you're a colorist doing color in whatever software you're using, you do jobs, but you don't book jobs the next day I'm going to do this, and then the next day I'm going to do that. You need to schedule breaks for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to break yourself completely. It's so that's my answer. Yes, overtime is very, very common.
Yeah, definitely in online, it's quite difficult to not have long days. Is what it is. So we have kind of about 10 more minutes. So is there anything specific you want to maybe, or?
I'm going to go through here. Well, I would like to tell everyone watching. Now I can see also the number is dropping, but we're still over 100 people here. If you go in and check our website, you won't find anything. And I've actually not prioritized the website at all. So we're working on that. But we have so many projects coming up right now, and we are early on in our stage. So we are actually not prioritizing that kind of like the website and such. That's more for contact for clients. Just so you know, that's why it looks like it the way it does.
Yeah. Cool. And if there's anything else that we take one last one.
Yeah, let's see what we have.
I'll check.
There are a few questions that has been answered.
Yeah,
already.
I think we have answered quite a lot of them in not necessarily all the questions, but a lot of them in are kind of part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So actually, there was one. I think.
Yeah, we might be able to squeeze two in because I saw one which is quite interesting as well.
Go on.
Yeah.
There you go. Go.
Let's do same, Christopher again. How do you deal with security? Do you have any questions from clients about this? I do have help with a programmer who has made my facility secure. And it depends on what client you're working with. If you're working with Netflix, for example, you need to have your backup in a different location. You can't have your backup in the same office as you keep your server, for example. So that's actually, I don't have any security at all. And but I don't work on those kind of projects either. So that's my answer on that one. You should that should probably be ask someone like big studio doing feature work. That's probably better. DNIG, ILP, whatever.
So yeah, there is kind of two sides to that. There is the security, obviously, of the footage and the stuff that you have local or that you're transferring around. There is one part of this remote workflow that I think is kind of where things are a bit sketchy at the moment, which is when projects are more secret and you have remote people working on it and making sure that no one can look at that screen. So there is two different types of security that you have to be kind of paying attention to in these times, especially. But as Thomas is saying, it's mostly about the files and the transferring and making sure that your systems are airtight and so on to make sure that you can actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, yeah, security-wise, we would just use the blinds because we have a glass door to the suite because it looks good. But if there's something secret going on, which happens, I mean, sometimes it could be that you're actually, releasing a new beer. And that is so secret, no one could know. You just blind, no one knows what's going on in there, and then make sure that the proper people have access to that room. So yeah. All
right. So last one.
Last one. Where was that one? I think I've lost it. So
do you know where was that? I can find it.
Well, actually, we've already covered this. Which was I'm not gonna. It's just like how do you do the mirroring of the folder structure? Is it through a software? Yes, that's through Axin. This is for Osama, who's writing this. Just the link is gonna follow. I gave Jen the link, so you can follow that up. That's it. I hope that everyone is happy, and I hope that this has kind of made some kind of sense.
Yeah, I think it was really good. So thank you very much, Thomas. It's been great to have you. It's great to see you. Congratulations on that show, and obviously great luck with the company and with Fable and everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To all of you that have joined us today, thank you very much. Thomas, anything that you want to say before we close?
No. Thanks a lot. No? See you soon. Follow my social media channels, I guess. Yeah. Cinegrace. Cool. Cinegrace everywhere. Twitter. I'm not using Twitter, but I have it. But everywhere is just Cinegrace. That's it.
Cool. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening, and hopefully see you soon. Bye.
We could actually do a little selfie here as well. That's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now you know where I'm sitting. Cool.
Bye.
Bye.